Hey guys, welcome back to Anything Goes with Sania and Leah, and we're on episode 36
I thought
today.
you were going to forget then. I was like, I
No,
just
I
told
will.
you.
I feel like it's been so long since I've done an intro to a podcast. I feel like normally you just crack on with them.
But I'm just like, you know what? Like, you don't even know what episode we're on. And I'm like, I'm already here. Let's just go for it.
Every time you're like, what episode is it? And I'm like,
And I'm like, oh, it's this one.
Today we did a little update, didn't we, last week? That was like a nice chilled Q&A type thing. So we're going to do a bit more of a topic one today. So we thought we would do a little bit of a chat on basically setting up your own business. Obviously, we both have our own businesses and have done for a while. So we thought we would just do a bit of a chat around like our tips with how to go about setting up your business. And we could also do things like things that you need to consider if you're setting up your own business that like people don't really talk about much in terms of,
Oh,
things you need to
yeah.
think about.
We got asked in our Q&A like about the whole like what are goals and like
Yeah.
we always talk about business, but we never actually really spoken about kind of like what it takes or how much you have to do and what like there's just a lot when it comes to owning a business. And I feel like we say there's a lot into it, but we never actually kind of discuss what it takes and how you have to go about things and things you have to consider when you own a business.
Yeah, because obviously it's not just the job that you are doing. Like you are a posing coach, online coach. I'm an online coach, PT, whatever. But it's so much more than just that one job. It's like all the things that you don't think about. Like for us, for example, like planning the content, getting the content filmed and written, like building things in the background, like working on new projects, like dealing with payments and money and organization and tax. Like this, there's so much more, like emails, there's so much that goes on behind the scenes in terms of running a business that's not just the job that you're actually doing. You're basically doing like 20 jobs.
Yeah, like if you are in a corporate job or in a business with a business model similar to a corporate job, you have specific people for specific jobs, but you are everyone. You are one person and you have to take on every single job role that you possibly need to.
Yeah. And obviously when you start to grow a business, you can outsource a little bit, like you can bring people in. But when you're in like the early stages of the business, obviously you are doing like everything yourself, aren't you?
Yeah, 100%. I think we should start on kind of like maybe considerations when starting your business, like what you need to consider when starting, and kind of go from there and then kind of work our way throughout. If that makes
That's
sense.
all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
What,
I carry on, sorry.
no, I was just going to say, what do you think is the most important thing when you're first starting out?
So I think the first thing for me would be understanding what you're getting yourself into. And I feel like the first thing that you need to understand, and this is the thing that I didn't understand until even a year ago, is kind of like when you earn, you pay back. So understanding like tax, understanding sole trader, understanding when to become VAT registered, understand when to become an LTD company. Like I feel like as you're starting out, obviously you will become a sole trader, but understanding like your monthly earnings, like having a business card, keeping receipts,
Yeah.
those are things that I didn't do, and it's made my accountant's life hell. But it's also meant that I'm spending so much money on tax for my first year because I thought keeping money was better off, when in reality,
Yeah.
like you have to spend money on your business and invest, otherwise it's going to HMRC. So it's
Yeah.
things like tax. And like my first top tips would be, even if you're not earning a lot of money, get a business card, create business expenses, and listen to podcasts that potentially can help you or seek advice for that. But then also keep receipts on absolutely everything, because those are the main things that I think that I and most people don't think about. You just own a business, you start marketing, you get money in, and then you're like, well, what about tax? And what about this?
Yeah.
And oh my God, I've made 30 grand profit this year, and that is getting 20% tax plus national insurance. So you're about spending 10 grand of that you've earned as profit, not on a
Yeah.
wage, but on accounts, when you could have
Yeah.
had like specific business expenses or actually invested some of your money that maybe on a project that you thought that you couldn't afford, when in reality you probably should have done it. Um,
Yeah,
so
I
I don't know if
completely
you
agree
have,
with that.
yeah.
because I was so, because this stuff isn't taught, right? Like no one talks or teaches tax, or it just doesn't get explained. Like I basically figured all this out myself as I went, but I spent the first 3 years probably when I was PT just burying my head in the sand with it.
Mhm.
So I didn't get this sorted. So like I got an accountant, but it was when my tax was due. So I'd basically been just like getting money in my bank, like spending it, whatever. Like didn't really have that much saved. And what I would say when you're starting out is track your payments or get a payment collector. Like this is the one thing I wish I'd done from the
Like
start,
Stripe,
because
go
yeah,
cardless.
Stripe, regardless, something that collects payments where it tracks all your payments, you can see how much you've earned. And then get something like Zero as well, which is so easy because I scan all my receipts into Zero. Like, so it saves them all, it tells you like how much you've brought in, how much you're spending, whatever. But obviously, and then if you've got your business bank account as well, because then everything's organized, you know how much you're earning, like you've got all your receipts saved, like it just makes everything really organized. Whereas I was just having people direct debit me their money to
I
basically
was, and
see.
it's made life complete hell because my accountant's then having to see, right, what's going in, what's actually going out,
Yeah,
what's a personal expense, what's a business expense. Like a good one as well as Zero, is I have a business card with Sterling or Starling.
I have that as well. Yeah, it's good.
Really
That is.
good. You can put receipts in there. It's really, really simple. You can topic like what's the wage, where does this
Yeah,
business expense fall in. But then I've also got a personal card where I actually pay myself, even though I'm not a limited company, I pay myself each month from my business account, and I have my account sorted, so I know exactly how much I've spent this year, but also how much I've actually made this year per month, per day.
yeah.
um
This is literally exactly the same as what I did. But when I started out, like exactly like you, everything was on one card. I
yeah,
wasn't tracking, I wasn't even tracking client payments, like little things like that. Like whereas now everything's just organized. So yeah, I completely agree with that. I think have a separate business card, pay yourself into a personal account, um, and then make sure
pay
you're using something to
tax.
flex client payments, like
Stripe is really
like
good because
yeah,
if you're like an online coach, you can set it that it occur like reoccurs every month.
yes,
They don't have to
overnight.
click anything; they just have to have money in the account. You can easily refund things, and Stripe actually is it takes the least amount of money from you per. So let's say, for example, a client pays me £100 for whatever reason, they only take like 1 or 2% of that, and most like go cardless is I think like 3 or 4. So it's like actually a really good way, and it also has loads of logistics on there as well. But another thing that I
Yeah,
would recommend is every single time, every single month, you see how much money you've earned for that month. Let's say, for example, you've earned, I think just 20% is £3,000 per month. Save not 20%, 30% of that wage and put it into a pot where you earn interest in, but you can like take it out as like an instant, somewhat ISA, but you earn money from it.
yeah,
Because that's not what I did. I was only, obviously you might not, that might be too much. The reason why my accountant said you should always save 20% for just tax and whatever, even though with business expenses it may be deducted, like there may be less expenses.
yeah,
What I also didn't realize, which is something that has bitten me in the ass this year, is it's something where you pay your national insurance as well, but you don't just pay one set of national insurance, you pay like national insurance 2 and then 4 or whatever it is.
yeah,
But then also, let's say for example, I have to pay like tax on like £4,000, you then have to add in 50%, which will equate it to £6,000, because that's your target, that's your what the tax people think that you're going to earn
yeah,
next year, so they take
yeah. You
half
have to pay in
off.
advance.
Yeah. So when it comes to your first tax year, don't think that you're just paying for that tax year. You're actually paying for half of your next
Yeah,
tax year, which will be deducted in that year. So you need to save around 30 to 35% of your income anyway before you
yes,
even like, just so that you have it. Because if you don't have the money, you are fucked. I'm sorry, like you
yeah.
are.
This is what happened to me in my first tax year as well, and I was like Luckily, I had some personal savings from uni, but I was like scrambling, and I was like rinsed for all my savings. But obviously, it's slightly different as well. If you have a limited company, the tax is different from that.
Yes.
So if you're limited, you it depends
You're
whether you're
taxed on
VAT
your
registered or
pay.
not VAT. Yeah, you're taxed on your business income, but then you're taxed on anything you take out the business as well. So that's why it can be good, like having a pension, because your pension is tax deductible from your business. So you can pay straight from your business into your pension that comes off your like taxing income. But then anything you pay yourself. So if you're paying yourself like a good wage and then you're putting some of that into savings, you're getting taxed on that because you're paying yourself and then it's going into savings. So you're probably in better just either whacking it in a pension or like actually investing into your business.
Yeah. And one thing that you also need to consider as well is like investing, like certain like things where you invest your money, that doesn't get put in, that's tax deductible as well. So like if I was to like, some people say that a pension isn't worth it. Going into like an ISA, a really good ISA, or like investing monthly into like, I think it was like someone told me, I think it was SP 500, where it's like where it's risky, but it's where like you like have like different shares in like
Yeah,
high end companies, and you earn a lot of like percentage back per year. So like there's loads of different ways that you can like invest your money and put your money in so that it's like less tax deductible. My recommendation is just doing what we said at the beginning and then getting an accountant to essentially help advise you. Personally, I don't have someone that I speak to on a monthly basis. I just have someone who that I'm relatively close with, can ask questions to, if I have any queries, and then she does my like self-assessment. But like I do know that you have like a monthly kind of like accountant call, don't
yeah.
you?
Just to like review everything and kind of track things and see what I can kind of spend money on. But you don't necessarily need that. I haven't always had that, but I think I wish looking back that I'd got all these things set up. So I would have got a business card, got a really good accountant, used a payment collector.
Yeah,
They're probably my main three. Use a payment collector, business card, so you can separate business and personal
save
expenses.
money for tax, like
Save money as you go.
yeah, like honestly, as soon as you start a business and as soon as you get money coming in, obviously it's up to like if you're not earning like 12 grand a year from it, you don't pay tax. I think it's 12 grand or 14 grand or something. You'll have to do your research on that. But if you're earning more than that, you're getting taxed. So just each month, make sure you save that money because you'll be stupid not to. And like, just make sure that if you earn more than like specific thresholds and stuff like that, you earn the right, you save the right amount of money. So
Yeah, that's like my number one
yeah,
business thing that I wish I'd
straight.
done at the start. Just got clued up with the money side of things. But it is quite daunting, isn't it? And like you start in a business, you've already got loads of things you're trying to do in your business, and then you've got all this like back end admin stuff to sort out. Like it is quite overwhelming,
Need to be
especially
earning money
a
to do
lot.
that, but it's so important to do it to begin with.
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean?
yeah,
It's nothing to like to learn. It costs nothing to get a business card. It costs nothing to like do all these things, but it's worth it. Like I promise, like if your accounts are in a shit place, like it's so hard, man. You're spending hours and hours and hours finding receipts, hours and hours and hours seeing what's been,
yeah.
like it's just not worth it. So, what would be your second thing in terms of business, like starting up a business? We've got the money side of things down. What would your next thing be?
Um, my second thing would probably be get like your basic resources and like how you're going to run your business sorted. Because I feel like although when I started, I just kind of went for it and I was like, oh, I don't know, like how I'm going to run things. I wish I'd like done a bit of research into like, right, like this is the app I'm going to use. This is how I'm going to structure it. So I had like a system in place basically for how I was going to run the business because I feel like everything would have been a lot more efficient from the start. But then you only really learn that from doing it and figuring out what works and what doesn't. So I guess that's kind of a bit of like a, yeah, you kind
I
of
do
have to
get what
try it
you
and
mean.
go.
Like if you're going into something that's already got quite a lot of like professionals in it, I would use that from what you've said, but also seek advice, free advice even. If you have friends or
Friends and
people
family.
you look up to who are in a similar job role or have like quite a high
Yeah.
corporate job or whatever, you can say to them like, what is it that you use? What is it that you recommend?
Yes. Yeah.
Um, but then, like, similarly to you, I just learned what worked for me and for my clients because it may not work for everyone as I went on. But I do think having some sort of structure of like, right, how am I going to do this? How am I going to take payments? How am I going to give this service? For example, you might be selling stuff online. Like what are you going to create your own website, but what admin are you going to use? Are you going to use Shopify? How are you going to
Yeah,
collect payments? What are you going to have linked on there? Have the baseline and the majority of your business set up before the launch,
yeah,
and then you'll learn from there. As long as you've tried things and like done your research on things, it's like the one thing I also think to really note out there is you're gonna make loads of fucking mistakes.
yeah,
You're going to make mistakes, and you can't expect your first launch to take off and earn millions. You can't expect, your first launch to go swimmingly. It doesn't happen that way. And I feel like the people who earn, like, not earn, who have really good businesses have learned from mistakes, because people can tell you, don't do this, do this, do
yeah.
that, do that. But you're never going to know unless you try, unfortunately.
Yeah, and also like I've changed like the software I use so many times. Like when I started, I was using Excel spreadsheets to like track client sessions, you know. I went through a phase of PTing where I was getting my clients to write the sessions down in notebooks. I wasn't even using anything digital,
Mm.
you know. And I've tried a couple of different apps, and there's so many ways you can do things. So but I wish like when I started, if I'd had something basic, like if I'd have built like a basic welcome pack at the start, which had all my startup info in, how to do check-in, it would have made things so much more efficient at the start
Yeah.
rather than like having people all over with everything. So even just having a basic idea of like, this is what I'm offering, this is like a service, like pack I can send out to people if they ask me questions. Think about things you can do, that things that you end up repeating loads, anything that you can repeat and you find yourself repeating, make something for it, because that will massively streamline things. Because as you start to get busier, you've then got things you can send out to people or things you can refer people back to. So even if you had like a basic service pack, like some sort of welcome pack, and
Or like
then
a
maybe,
video
yeah,
or something
something
like that.
basic, like some basic resources people can refer to. Because if you've got all that at the start, you're massively reducing your time then, and you can focus more on the other things in the business because you've got all your baseline stuff.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with that too. I would say your third thing is having a I would say your third thing is everything marketing, having a website. You can build your website yourself. It's really not that hard. You can literally go on Shopify for £10.99 and sort it out yourself. Having
Yeah,
things like a website and having like a weekly social media plan, planning ahead,
yeah,
understanding what content you need to put out there, being active on social media, having a business page straight off the bat. Like those things are generally important to make you seem more professional, but so that you can kind of like divide the two, business, personal. You can still tag team them together, but it just helps have everything all in one. Helps people who are looking for that specific thing, tags, those kinds of things. That, even though so small and you might not see a return in quite a bit of time, it's worth in the long run. If I didn't have a website, I don't know where I'd be right now. I'd just be through social media. I probably wouldn't be as large as I am now. If I didn't have an Instagram page, I know that I would struggle to grow my personal, which means then I probably attract less people for my business, because I'm no people follow me personally, and then a lot of people then move to my business.
yeah, 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 yeah,
So like having all, and it is very overwhelming, but having a marketing plan and even a budget in marketing, and getting, like getting used to Canva, and like
yeah,
getting a membership for Canva to create these posters and like all these types of things. Like you don't even need a videographer, film reels on your phone,
yeah,
like be personable. People will only invest in you if they like you, if they think they're going to get on with you, if they think your product's good, if you know what you're on about. And unfortunately, the only way to do that in this current day and age is to give out free information, to be social on social media. People, I have a question on the form that people have to fill out that says, "Why have you chosen me as your posing coach?" And I can promise you now, 75 out of like 70% out of the forms always say, "Because you're approachable and I like your style of posing." And that's because I have spoken on my stories. I have made it so
yeah,
everyone knows who I am, how I teach, what I do, what I know, what services I provide. I am confident in what I know because I put things out there. I'm like very confident in my words of ways.
yeah,
Those types of things with marketing, genuinely, that's how I've got my business, marketing.
yeah. You're
And
very good at marketing. They're like you're constantly pushing things and talking, and you're just there all the time.
exactly. It they said on a on a thing, I don't know what I saw on, was like people will only invest into you if they've seen you around 300 to 5 times. That's why
Mhm.
cookies are so important for businesses, because they'll see that you've looked at a product on like their own separate
Yeah.
website. Then on Instagram, next day you're like, I just looked at this.
Yeah.
Then it's like you're not like you were umming and ahhing already before. You're still umming and
It's
ahhing.
mind starting all the time.
Yeah, and then the more you see it, you're like, fuck it, I love it. I'm just gonna get it. And that's what you have to do if you can't afford all these cookies and you can't afford like, all these like things like email blasts and stuff like that. Like every corner, every part of someone's phone, you should be on it. Instagram, Facebook, I don't know, like
Yeah.
emails, website, like all those things. Because the more they see it, the more they're going to believe in you and they're going to want to invest.
Yeah, and you can even do things like once you've got that, you've got your account sorted, you've got kind of your social media plan, you've got a website, business page, whatever. You've got kind of your basic structure of how you're going to run your business. What you can do then is look at all the different avenues you can go down in terms of like, can you maybe start an email list? Can you offer something free that then adds people onto your email list, and then you've got another way of marketing to people. So it's just like looking at, how can I get people into my business or aware of me in some way, even if that's a free, guide that they download or, something like
Free
an email
service.
list.
At the beginning of your business, like unfortunately, you're gonna have to do a lot of things free of charge. Do you know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like, or even cheap. And you do a lot of those. You recently did a free thing which got people on your email blast, didn't you?
Yeah. So I did like a 12-week, it was basically a 12-week free guide and it covered everything. So it had like one on training, one on nutrition, one on photo shoots. And I made all these free guides. And then when people download the guide, it adds people onto my email list. And then I send an email out every week on a Friday. An email goes out to my email list, which has like things I'm doing at the minute or like personal updates. But I've got like over 1,000 people on that email list now. So it's like, which I'm pretty happy with. So,
That's really
that's a
good.
1,000 people every week. And also I had like a system built as well by someone so that like, for example, when someone joins my business, it adds them onto a specific list and you can then
Yeah.
create like onboarding. So there's loads of things you can do when you really delve into it as well.
Oh my God, like when I got my website done, they were like, so do you want them to have like a welcome email and then like in like a week's time they do this and then like in 2 weeks time once they've still joined, like then that like you have like a client journey with
Yeah.
emails and stuff and I was like, what?
Yeah.
Like
It's like
it
mind
was
blowing,
just
isn't it, what you can do?
yeah, it's absolutely crazy. And obviously this is like later on in the business as well. Like you'll learn these types of things, but we're also talking more about that startup kind of thing. Like those like it's just mental, isn't it? Like the scope of what you can do. And this is why like outsourcing can be really, really important. Um, there was something that I was gonna say, and now it's completely. Oh, always invest in yourself within your business, even though you feel like you think that you know everything. Always seek bettering yourself, upgrading your service. So, for example, going to events, going and I don't know if you're coaching, doing like seeking help from people who have more of a specialization in specific topics, like gain more knowledge, better your service, that kind of thing. Don't ever stay stagnant. Don't ever, ever, ever think that you know enough, because I promise you, you never do.
Yeah. And always like try and what you got to think is the way you're going to keep clients is by actually caring and looking after your clients as well. If you're offering like a service-based thing, which a lot of self-employed people are or business people. So just think about what can you do in order to make it better for your current clients.
Yeah, I agree. It's client retention at the end of the day. And a lot of the time, business grows because of word of mouth. And yeah, you can do all this marketing. Yeah, you can do that. But if you have 10 clients and they all speak to five of their friends, that outreach is far better than like advertisement that could take so long for you to actually reach the right people. So
Yeah.
it's important to remember that like your current clients are super duper important, because word of mouth is super duper important. Most of my clients now are due to word of mouth.
Most of mine are as well.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
that's what keeps your clients. And you just need to understand that you need to keep that. There are so many things to think about. But definitely like understanding like continuously bettering yourself and caring, and actually like if doing all these things, like you have to do these things to like have a successful business, and then only a few years into it are you able to take some sort of a step back and hire people to do certain things and do that, because you can't really do that in the first couple of years. Like when you're starting your business, just know it's not a fucking easy ride in the first couple of years. Like it's still not now. You have to
Even
work.
I have days now where I'm like, what am I doing right now? Like I've got about 50 million things that I need to do.
Yeah, it's not an easy thing, but if you love what you do and you genuinely want to do it, you can do it. There's just a lot of things you
Yeah.
have to think about. Is there anything else that you'd say for a startup, or do you feel like we've covered quite a good chunk of
I feel
things?
like that's pretty much, there's a lot of info there. The only thing I would say is how do you stay on top of things? Because I know I speak to a lot of, I've got a few clients who are coaches, and one of the main things that comes up with them is they're like so overwhelmed with everything they need to do. And obviously it's a lot, right? Like we spoke about the social media, we spoke about the accounts, we spoke about like building the new projects. Like what would you say in terms of staying on top of things? Like when you wake up, right, you got a lot of people struggle with this. You've got control of your own day. You control what you spend on what you control the time you spend doing certain things.
Yeah.
How do you decide, okay, right, today I'm going to focus on this and not get overwhelmed with everything you need to do?
I feel like I'm the worst person to speak to about this because I am very much, don't actually, to be fair, I have a priority list. And I do plan a lot of things in advance, and I get a lot of shit done as soon as I plan it so that it's ticked off, don't have to think about it until it comes
Yeah,
about.
yeah,
Um, I am very much a doer, just get it done so I know it's done.
yeah.
Sometimes I think one thing that has definitely helped me is having a calendar. I'm definitely not a calendar kind of like whore where I'm like, blocking out when I can rest, what bits I'm gonna do. I'm more so like, right, I've got clients at this time, I've got this at this time, I'm training with this person at this time, I can work at this time. Cool. I'm gonna just put a work block there, and then whatever is first on my priority list will be ticked
Yeah.
off. Kind of thing. Like I'm not 100% a massive planner because I feel like for me, that gives me too much pressure, and then I get overwhelmed by seeing how much stuff I've got to do that day. So for me, I'm really not the best person to really ask this question because
It's good though, because you just what you do is you basically have a priority list. You have your time where you know, right, I've got 4 hours here where I can get a load of work done, and then you
yeah,
just basically go to your priority list. So you have got like a method behind how
it's
you do it,
just
and
all up here.
you get
Yeah,
things done quick though, which is how I think you've moved forward so quickly. Because what a lot of people do is they'll be like, yeah, I need to do that. I need to do that. I need to do that. I need to do that, and then they don't actually do it.
yeah, yeah.
Or
And
they'll
also
just
like if it's there, I'm very much one of those like, for example, like I know exactly what I need to do today, but I only know it as I woke up. Like
yeah,
it's really weird. Like I go to bed thinking, right, I've got everything done. I also have in the last like this like in 2023, I've spent a lot of nights staying up late doing stuff, not because I've not been prepared, but because I've had to, because I've had a lot of projects that just take a lot of time. And sometimes, most of the time, I don't feel like I'm on top of things, and sometimes I forget things. Like it's completely normal, and I feel like not hitting yourself about it is like you'll feel shit and whatever, but like there are going to be times where like you are going to be overwhelmed. Like if you're busy and you've got a massive project on, you're going to be overwhelmed. Like you're a one-man band. Like there are things that you're going to feel like, oh my god, I can't do this, but then sometimes you just have to go out for a walk, come back, have a few bits of coffee, and just get shit done. Like go through the priority list. Sometimes you're just going to have late nights. And then once you've gotten through the late nights and you've finally done something, it's that after where you're like, I did it.
I do it.
I did
Yeah,
it. But
yeah,
generally, how I just keep on top of things is quite literally actioning things and doing it. Putting
yeah,
things saying to myself, right, I've got to do this because the live is in like I've asked this person, can you do an LFP live? Cool, right. Now I message them straight away whilst they're on their phone, send me a photo so I can make the poster. Cool. Now they've sent me that photo. I'm gonna make that poster. Done. Done with that. Leave it until
yeah,
I need to post it. On to the next thing. Right, what's next? So instead of like having 100 things open, because I'm very like I'm not
yeah.
ADHD, but I'm very much like that. I have to open and close things. And I feel like that's how I keep on top of things.
Yes, because you don't let your list build up then because you're just getting it done straight away.
Exactly. But I know you're very kind of different in like with your lists and stuff, which is still very productive.
Yeah, yeah. What and the way I do mine is I'll have like a project that I'm working on, and then I'll break it down into like a list of tasks. I'm like, right, this is the outcome, this is the thing, these are the tasks I need to do. And then I know that because for me to it has to be out my head and there for me to work through.
Yeah.
Because if I'm sat here and I'm like, oh my God, like I've got this to do, I've got this to do, I've got this to do, I just sit, I like freeze, it freezes me up and then I can't
Yeah.
do anything. Because I end up
Sometimes
doing
I get like that and I'm
yeah,
like, I just need to work through something. I just need to think.
yeah.
Then that's when I go, right, one thing, right, that's it.
Yes, yeah, that definitely. So that's the way I do it. I get it all out my head first, and then I'll pick one and be like, right, I can fit about that. That's all on the list. This is the thing that I'm doing now, and just get
Yeah.
that done.
Yeah. I feel like Lissa always, like, even me, someone who's very sporadic, I still have some form of a list that
Yeah,
may not be out on paper and that may not be like it definitely has led me to forgetting a few things every now and then. And a calendar and a list has definitely helped me on days where I'm like, "Ooh," like I'm struggling. But I just feel like having the attitude of just get it in, get it done, actually action things. Don't say, "Oh, I'm gonna message this person, but I'm not gonna do it now." Why aren't you gonna do it now? It takes 2 days, 2 seconds.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
just do it
yeah, yeah,
now. Like why are you waiting? Just do it. Like, oh, I might like get a quote from this person, but I'll do that when I have a little bit more time. No, email them now. Get it done because you're never gonna do it.
yeah,
That
yeah.
kind.
That I think that definitely helps with business, just being like that and being like, just get it done, get it boxed off, move on.
Yeah. Like sometimes I was because Dan Welburn's doing an LFP live. And
Yeah,
when I was on the bike, I was like, oh, I'll message him after the cardio. And I was like, I'm on my phone. I'll just do it now. And he
yeah,
responded before I was finished my cardio. So it's
yeah,
like things like that where you're like, you do talk yourself out of, I'll do it later. But it's better to
yeah,
just get it in, get it done. Just have that. Why are you waiting? Just do it.
yeah. Fab. I feel like this is really helpful,
I thought that. I was like, when we said the topic, I was like, oh, I'm a bit nervous that I don't really have anything because we didn't really plan this. This was very much like a right, we'll just go for it and see.
Yeah,
I feel like we've definitely discussed the topics that people have and must think about. And again, if you have any questions, like I'm no business mentor, but I feel like I've actually done quite a successful business. So if you have any questions,
yeah.
Leah, both successful businesses, then please let us know. And I'd be more, I love talking business. Like I've
I
said to
love
you,
it as well.
I'm like, get into it a bit too much.
Yeah.
So I love conversations like that. And if I can help anyone, I will. So yeah, I feel like hopefully that has helped quite a few people.
Yeah. And like I said, any questions, just drop either one of us a message, Instagram, like whatever, and we can hopefully help out a little bit.
Brilliant. Right, guys, do not forget to like, subscribe, and share and tag us on your story if you are listening to this. And any questions, please let us know. See you for the
Thanks,
next.
guys.
Bye.